Home sales dropped nearly 25% and listings are up nearly 40%. Yet prices are still creeping upwards. What the heck is going on in the Greater Vancouver detached market? This video has got you covered. We'll look at what's driving this market paradox and help you decide whether right now is the right time to buy or sell a detached home in Greater Vancouver, March 2025. So we'll look at home sales, pricing trends, supply dynamics, and expert insights into what is ahead spring 2025. Let's get into it. So section 1, sales and inventory trends, how the market is moving. So first we're going to look at the macro lens, get an idea of what's happening in the market overall, and then we're going to zoom in. So first of all, we're going to look at sales year over year. So in March 2025, there were 527 detached home sales. This is down 24.1% from 694 detached home sales in March 2024. So this sharp year-over-year decline shows demand for detached homes is softening, likely due to affordability concerns even with the stable mortgage rates. This has been one of the slowest March performances for detached homes since pre-pandemic years, which may be extremely alarming, but also opens a lot of doors for buyers. This could be your opportunity to get into the detached market at record low prices. Now let's look at sales month over month. So last month there were 477 home sales in February 2025. This is a 10.5% increase to 527 home sales that we saw this past month. This month over month growth shows some early spring market activity, which is a good sign, but it is nowhere near historic levels. But if demand does not pick up, we could see price resistance in all of Q2. Now let's look at listings year over year. The numbers are crazy. So active listings actually increased by 37.9% year over year. So there were 3,818 active listings in March 2024, and that is up to 5,110 active detached home listings in March 2025. So almost 40% increase year over year in active inventory. This is insane. Sellers are returning to the market in a big way, expanding options for buyers overall. This rise in listings helps curb price acceleration and improves buyer leverage. We are definitely seeing the result of that pent-up listing demand from last year. A lot of home sellers were not trying to list their homes because of the elevated interest rates and the lack of interest from buyers in the market, especially for detached homes with the price point that they're at. A lot of buyers were not keen to lock themselves into some really expensive mortgages at the time, and it makes sense. But let's actually look at what's happening month over month. So what's going on in the market right now? And then we saw a 14.4% increase in listings month over month, which is huge. So in February 2025, there were a total of 4,408 detached listings. And this month, there were 5,110 detached listings. So more sellers are preparing for the spring market, hoping more demand in April and May. And in this case, we're seeing listings outpacing sales. So we will probably see some downward price pressure in the detached market despite the early 2025 gains in benchmark price. And speaking of benchmark price, let's get into the pricing trends. Section 2, how the prices are actually moving. So first, let's look at the year over year change in benchmark price. So the detached benchmark price in March 2025 was $2,034,000. This is a 0.8% increase from March 2024. So despite slower sales, prices are holding firm year over year, indicating owners aren't panicking or slashing their prices. Stability at this price point may reflect low inventory in key detached markets like Vancouver West and North Vancouver. But now let's looking at what's happening in the market right now. So the month over month change in benchmark price. So detached prices rose 0.4% from $2,026,000 in February 2025. So this modest monthly increase suggests that prices are remaining resilient despite soft sales. Buyers are hoping for some pretty deep discounts, but they may need to wait longer because prices are sticky in established neighborhoods. And I'll get into this more at the end when I talk about conclusions and how this benefits buyers and sellers. But if you're a buyer right now, look at neighborhoods that aren't seeing as much action or activity, because a lot of the price stability that we're seeing in the market overall comes from a few neighborhoods that are always busy with sales. And there are some pretty big gaps in some specific areas in the market right now. which I'll maybe make another video on that. So leave a comment if you want to see some areas right now in Greater Vancouver where there are some really good buying opportunities. Okay, now let's look at whether or not we're in a buyer's market, a seller's market, or a balanced market. So this is determined by their sales to active listings ratio. So right now the detached sales ratio is 10.3%, down from 11.3% in February. 12% is the cutoff between a balanced market and a buyer's market. So we are getting deeper into buyer market territory. So this ratio confirms that buyers right now have the upper hand in negotiations for detached homes. And if this trend continues, we may see more motivated sellers start to adjust their prices as the spring continues. Buyers can definitely take their time, negotiate more aggressively, and sellers may need to adjust expectations or maybe invest into more marketing or staging to attract more buyer attention, because buyers right now can be extremely picky. So what is influencing supply and demand? So first of all, who is buying right now in the detached market? Well, a lot of move up buyers and downsizers, though many of them are waiting for more clarity in interest rates. So detached homes still appeal to families needing space, but affordability is one of the biggest hurdles. Cash buyers or buyers with strong equity are positioned best right now to take advantage of the market. In slower markets like this, it is a good opportunity for buyers to move up from a townhome and purchase in the detached market, because that gap in price from a townhome and a detached home starts to shrink, making that jump up to the detached home a little bit easier. This type of market is a net benefit for upsizers and move up buyers because they net the difference. They get a bigger discount on the more expensive property, even if they take a small L on their sale. One thing that we're seeing specifically is the detached market under $1.5 million is way more active than the market over $1.5 million. One of the big reasons for this is the change in lending rules. So before, if you were making a purchase over $1 million, the minimum down payment requirement was 20%. They have now increased that threshold to $1.5 million. So if your purchase price is $1.501, you're now needing at least $300,000 minimum down payment. But if you're purchasing under $1.4 million, your minimum down payment requirement is half of that. This is a huge difference for buyers, and it's definitely affecting their decision making and how they're trying to negotiate these purchases, but is one of the key reasons why we're seeing the price point over $1.5 million extremely slow compared to the price points under $1.5 million. Of course, there are also more people that can afford a cheaper detached home, but when you're looking at detached homes in that $1.5 million price point, plus minus 100,000, that is making the biggest difference. Okay, right now, who is selling? Well, we're seeing a lot of long-term owners starting to sell. We're seeing upsizers, so people who own detached homes, maybe smaller detached homes, start to upsize into something a little bit nicer, maybe with a rental suite or a bigger backyard or a better location. And then we're also starting to see some investors starting to cash in while prices are pretty steady, potentially planning for another purchase in the slower market. So again, a lot of the sellers in the detached market are people trying to take advantage of the favorable buying conditions right now. That being said, many sellers are preparing for more competition in the spring and acting early. And because we expect more homes to hit the market during spring, presentation and especially pricing will remain the most important factor in how quickly you sell and for how much money you're going to sell for. And now let's look at interest rates and financing. Mortgage rates are fairly stable. They've cut rates straight for the past 6 to 8 rate cuts. We are nearing 2-year lows, which is actually improving affordability. This is a good thing overall for driving up buyer demand, increasing affordability. But because rates haven't hit that low point yet, a lot of buyers are still waiting for rates to get cut even further. A lot of buyers also anticipate prices to drop further because right now they've remained fairly stable. But I have a feeling buyers are going to get used to this price resistance, assume that we're nearing the bottom in terms of activity, and start to jump in the market this spring. We're seeing a lot of serious buyers take advantage of the favorable buying conditions right now and the lower rates. And we've seen this time and time again in the market. A lot of buyers are really hesitant to make a decision, and then as soon as something in the market changes, it will trigger a big rush. This could be a change in interest rates, maybe once it starts to hit that sub 4 level and people are starting to see rates in the 3.5. They are probably going to enter the market in droves, and that FOMO is going to trigger, again, speculating, but the future rate cuts can trigger a rush of demand, and it wouldn't be the first time we've seen it happen. And then there are the external factors, so higher inflation, US policy shifts, tariffs, local zoning changes, the federal election. These are all things that are influencing the detached market. So this type of uncertainty will keep some buyers hesitant, whereas a lot of the buyers right now that are active and serious in the market are seeing this as a rare opportunity. Local zoning policies are also affecting the detached market. A lot of municipalities have not finished updating their OCPs, or they got extensions. So some buyers don't want to commit to the purchase if they don't know exactly how their land use opportunities are going to change in the near future, and how municipal policies will affect their home and their plot of land until later in the year. Federal elections coming up will also cause buyers to hesitate until the elections are over. And there's the US who are threatening tariffs, causing all sorts of uncertainty in the market. It makes sense that buyers are a little bit hesitant to make a decision when they don't even know what is going on in the world. But oftentimes when people are fearful, that is where there is the most opportunity. And we don't know how low things are going to get or how slow things are going to be until they start going up. And this month, despite some of the slowest sales and highest inventory in history, we are starting to see a small shift in the market overall. We haven't seen it exactly in the detached market, but when I looked at the overall market stats, prices actually went up. Sales actually increased relative to the number of listings. So this could be the start of a shift. So now let's get into conclusions, recommendations, and market outlook. For buyers, detached homes are in a buyer's market. This is great for negotiations. It may not stay this way for long, so enjoy it and take advantage of it while it's here. Prices are fairly stable, listings are up, so you have way more choices right now in this market with way less urgency. So use this quieter period as a buyer looking at detached homes and make a strategic purchase before rates and demand start to shift. So work with a local real estate professional to spot motivated sellers and opportunities in this market. I wouldn't expect steep discounts because sellers are really holding the line on prices, as we've seen in the change in benchmark price month over month. So looking at opportunities and timing will be key to getting a really good deal in this market. Now for sellers, the market is cooler. Expect longer selling times unless priced really sharp. Early spring could be your best opportunity to sell for a decent price before the possible inventory surge later in the spring that we usually see. But we are definitely seeing well-maintained homes in desirable areas still sell for a good amount. So focus on value. This is really good advice for a buyer, especially in a time like this where you have a lot of options. Get something in a good neighborhood, in a good location, good schools, a well-maintained home, because even in a slow market like this, they maintain their value really, really well. So sellers, make sure you're staging, you're preparing your home accordingly, you're working with a real estate professional with strong marketing capabilities, because buyers have options and you need to stand out. You can consider pricing slightly under the market to generate competitive interest, and in a falling market, pricing below the market can actually mean you're pricing with the market in 2 weeks. Instead of chasing the market down like chasing a ball down the hill, it's important to get ahead of these changes before the ball hits the bottom. And then market outlook. In the short term, buyers' market conditions with steady prices, little room for price growth unless demand rises. And then in the mid to long term, if interest rates start to drop and sales do pick up, detached homes could see some modest appreciation in late 2025. But there are so many factors affecting the detached home market right now. So it is hard to say what exactly is going to happen later in the year. We can just see the market for how it is right now and see that there is a great opportunity for buyers. So detached listings are growing, sales have fallen, prices are holding steady despite everything. So are you going to take advantage of this market or are you going to wait? Let me know what you think of the detached market in the comments. The numbers are crazy for the townhome market update and the condo market update, so be sure to stay tuned for those, and I'll catch you on one of those videos. Peace.